I'd like to make, and I would like to apologize to the Goodrich residents for my unclear and misinterpreted statement on June 8th, 2015. It was never my intent to deny anyone the right to record village meetings. The intent was to protect those in attendance. Unfortunately, it seems the best way to do this is to warn those in attendance to use caution after the meetings. It's possible you are being recorded. That's my statement. Now I'd like to call the meeting to order. I guess what we're going to do is we're going to go right into public comments. If anyone wishes. I do have a brief statement to make with that too. The Village of Goodrich meeting will now follow its past procedures in the Opening Meetings Act rules. It will be limiting the speaking time during public comments to 3 minutes. Please give your name for the record, no personal comments directed at anyone, including village employees, and address the chair. That also applies for those council members too. With that, please, public comments.
Katie Vick, Green Road. My only comment about your statement with the videotaping is it should just be made clear that that was beyond your scope of authority. As a president, you have no authority, you have no authority outside of conducting these meetings. And I think you might want to refer back to the charter on exactly where your authority starts and stops.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let's move right into the budget amendments if we can. Well, I guess before I do that, I would also like to do one other thing if I could. I'd like to welcome our new council member, Shannon McCaffrey. Welcome.
Thank you.
And now if we could, with the budget amendments.
We don't have a ton of them this year, which is great. I'm going to start on page 1, just by stating that we have not received all of our state revenue money. At this point, we have about almost $24,000 yet to come, and we've not received our Metro telecommunications money. At this point, we received our checks from the county. We had a couple of chargebacks, so we didn't quite get what was budgeted for property taxes, $1,740 short. We also need to make an adjustment to the equipment rental for major roads in the amount of $2,000 and minor roads $4,000. So their total budgeted amount is $25,000 and $32,000 respectively. Anybody have any questions on page 1? Page 2 goes on to page 3. Because I was on short-term disability during the course of this fiscal year, my wages were reduced. So the $4,900 listed there, and the on page 4, the $3,600 listed for Mill Pond spraying. I've reduced both of those to add $9,500 on page 3 for general legal. I can repeat that if you're not exactly sure what I just said.
Say that one more time, please.
The bottom line for expenses all the way through did not change. What I did was within a section or a department, I added or subtracted. This one happened to take $4,900 off of my wages on page 2 and $3,600 on page 4 for Mill Pond spraying to add $9,500 more on page 3 to the legal. Does that make sense this time? On page 2, you'll see some numbers in brackets within a department, and as long as the bottom line is in the black within that department. I did not go through and change. Certain ones I did, when it had to do with wages or whatever, but, as long as the bottom line, like if you look at secretary, the bottom line is $859.70 remaining, so I didn't change each one of the bracketed amounts. On page
That's,
3.
I'm sorry, Jackie, that's, well, to you, Mr. President, can I ask Jackie these questions, or do you want me to pertain these to you?
Of course.
Okay. The 859, that's what's still to be paid? I'm just looking at the secretary, that's the one you were going out the example, that's the 859 still to be paid, or that's just what's gonna be remaining?
That's what's left over at this particular point in time. That
That's-
did not get used as far as the budget was concerned.
Okay.
When the budget was done, you'll see in some cases, depending on where it falls in here, the health insurance was budgeted at a 15% increase, and we did not have that increase
Okay.
last year, so there's extra money left there. If you go to page 3, I adjusted the clerk FICA 126 and removed 126 from the treasurer's wages. Some of the wages, in addition, when the budget was prepared last year, it was prepared, I was directed to prepare it with a 1.5 raise in it, and then when it came to voting on the budget, that was, that didn't go through, so that's why some of the wages are a little bit different too, with money left over. Any questions on page 3?
Wouldn't that be consistent for all the wages? I think at the beginning, right? So we should see a little bit of less money on, actually all of it.
Yes. And again, on page 4, reduce the mill pond spraying, because we did not do that in this budget, by the 36 that went to Tom Kenny. With the gas prices being down this year, and we saved quite a bit of money on what we had to put in the fuel tank. So that was reduced by 2501, and property maintenance and repair was increased by that same amount, so nothing changed within the total of Department 282. On page 4, where it says the $1,000 reduction in code enforcement wages, if you go to page 5, there's a reduction in the street lighting of $11.99, and those two amounts show up in park for wages and park maintenance and repair on page 6. It's the same thing as with the attorney. And you need to repeat that.
Page 4 and 5 go to park wages. Code enforcer and street lighting.
Correct. That goes over to the park. And as you can see, I reduced the drain project 226 and put that into garbage at the bottom of page 5. And if you go to page 6, like I mentioned, the total of those two accounts, the reduction in those accounts are added to the park wages and the park maintenance and supplies. We had trees down in the park this year, so there was quite a bit of extra time spent down there, and then removal of the shed. The DARE transfer was added to, the auditors will work on these numbers because it is a fund balance, but I wanted it to show up that we paid that money out, so we're adding that to the budget, and then there's a budget amendment in the amount of the $10,792.
Just a quick question, if I may, because that's the first that I've seen this on here. How come one of the first budgets amendments that we did, that DARE fund money wasn't shown as money in our account, so to speak?
It's reserved fund balance. It doesn't show up in the account.
Was it in a certain account?
it's listed in the audit as reserve fund balance. When something is, when a fund balance is reserved, that means that that's the only thing that it can be used for. So it shows up in the bank account as money in the bank, but it doesn't show up on the budget until we were able to disperse it.
But that, I guess, to get around full circle for myself, that $10,000 was shown in the general fund as part of general fund money, I guess I'm asking. It was in a separate account as reserve.
Yes, general fund money that shows up in the budget is money that we expect to receive this year. The bank accounts are different, you know, the total in the bank account, they fluctuate, but, during the course of the year, but that's, wasn't a revenue, it's already in the bank. Page 7. Major road account, we still have monies that we'll be receiving for our Act 51 money that will be coming in, about $5,000 more that we get the first of next month. Going down the list, major road wages, I adjusted that. There isn't, I just added the wages, because we have a fund balance in major roads, that we can utilize, which we said at the beginning of the year. There's $21,000 roughly in, major road fund balance, and you really don't need to keep a fund balance in, the road accounts. So we would be utilizing fund balance for adjusting that, the wages. The same thing with major road equipment rental. And I think I put it in the wrong line. It's supposed to be routine, not equipment winter. So that was increasing the road equipment by $2,000. And
So- I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
I don't mean to keep interrupting.
no, go ahead.
The $21,000 fund balance, you're taking $2,000 out of that, and you're gonna show that in major road equipment routine, that's where that's supposed to go?
Yeah, as well as the wages. And there's a transfer that I added from major roads to minor roads of $7,000 to help with the cost of that. Again, we've got fund balance in major roads, it doesn't have to be in there, and it can be transferred into minor roads. So that's what that $7,000 is.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. President, the question that I guess I would have, and this, I don't know if you'd want to have this at a regular council meeting, but it seems to be we're always having, I always have budget questions, right? Seems to be the history here. But instead of using the $18,000 for the Erie Street, that bond money going forward, which we kind of budgeted for in our next budget, again, I know this topic's kind of already been discussed, but that money I think should be for that bond, and if we have a $21,000 major road fund, any gravel, anything that's gonna be, need to be bought for our roads out here, I think that money should be coming out of there. Just kind of a thought, I just have a little concern, I know we, again, already approved the budget for next year, but I've only been here a short time, and it just, history seems to be going to the way when we run out of money, we run out of money towards funding employees. Just a thought for you for the future. Thank you. Sorry, Jackie.
Judy, please.
Well, when we're done with this, there isn't $21,000 left in that budget.
Well, right.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Minor roads, page 8, that shows the transfer of $7,000 from major roads into minor roads. And as you can see on the bottom of the page, it goes into wages and it goes into equipment rental. I got that one in the right spot, routine. And there is a small fund balance in minor roads of $1,700 or $1,600, that we can utilize if we need to, but we still have money coming in from Act 51 to that account also. Any questions, anybody? The next account, that $23 is just, balancing those out in between each other. No amendments on public improvement, those accounts are in red because we were using fund balance for that. We didn't get any money last year for those accounts. The sewer fund, the usage fees are down. We have 83 sewer bills that are going on to taxes. Not everyone pays their sewer bill throughout the year because I guess that they can deduct it on their income. I'm not sure. But there are 83 people that have their sewer bills going on to the taxes this year. And we have 7 open building permits out right now. So I budgeted for 14 sewer taps, and we've sold 13. I think we'll be issuing one of those tomorrow, so the sewer taps, we've had 14. And with the addition of 4 units to go to Smokin' Jay's, we've had 10 new builds in the last year, which is great for Goodrich. So those will be on the tax roll next year.
How much are the sewer taps again?
Well, the ones for Smokin' Jay's were 2, because he was adding on two per unit, and then the other ones were 1,000. Going to page 11, again, when we started the budget year, we intended to use 17,000 in fund balance, with the hopes that we were gonna sell more sewer units and that more people would pay their sewer. So these are just adjusting and using additional not this page. The 509 from the sewer fund wages takes care of the 140 and the 369 at the top of the page. And adjusting the transfer to 2003 debt for $1. That's the only change on there, and nothing on page 13. Anybody have any questions? This is the process that we go through at the end of every year, going out of the budget so that when the auditors come, it's a little cleaner for them to look at the budget.
When do the auditors come?
September 10th and 11th, I think. This year. Monday and Tuesday. So, if there aren't any questions for me to answer, I'm looking for a motion to approve the budget amendment
I got
dated 6/29.
a couple questions. So for the general legal, there's a negative $4,800 and some change in there. And I see that you moved some money to catch that up. Was that money already spent to Mr. McKinney?
Yes.
So, and I guess just my thought process is, doing a budget, and I understand it's gonna be kind of a rolling budget, but before the money is spent, shouldn't we be amending the budget to get those expenses so that we can pay him instead of paying him first and then going through and seeing where we can get the money from?
If that's the way council wants to do it, but it doesn't have to be done that way.
You really never know how much you're gonna be paying him, though. That's the biggest problem. There's no set, we don't know how many hours he's gonna put in, or, at this point with the legal issue, we don't know where it's gonna end up.
And then my other question, Mr. President, our last council meeting, this is Public Act 151, I believe, for the health insurance, Act 51, Act 151?
152.
152, thank you. Did you look into that to see if that was going, if it was a 2/3 vote is what it needed for passing? And if it was the 80-20 cap gonna reflect in this budget?
I think we had a majority vote on that when that was,
We're perfectly fine now. The last vote that we did in November was a 5-0 vote for this fiscal year. And no, nothing is in here as far as any kind of a cap or whatever.
there was nothing put in there with any cap. And once again, too, I plan on appointing a committee that is going to go over all of this too.
Right, I get that.
And then we're
health
gonna
insurance.
adjust the health insurance.
Yeah, but there was actually 2 votes that were done actually for the same year. If I looked at the law, there was one that we did when I first came out in November, and you actually had done one
I think we tabled.
in the previous year.
I don't know, I talked to the state, we're perfectly fine, there's nothing that we have to do, to catch up to, we're fine.
And once again, when this committee goes forward, we'll look into that too. And I thought the first time that came up, I thought we tabled it. I didn't think we voted on it.
We had a vote in February, and one in November.
There was one in February. You and McAfee voted no on it, the rest of the council voted yes on it. And by the way that particular law is written, you need 2/3 votes, and you actually didn't have enough votes to carry that. You needed a 4-1 yes on it. And then we did it again in November, and actually we did two votes on that for the same year, for this year's insurance. So really, the first one is what really should have taken effect. The second one was the discussion that I thought everybody, we both had this discussion, that we thought we were gonna be able to change the insurance going throughout. At least that's the impression that I got, and that's why we voted yes on it, because we were gonna change the insurance going through for 2015. But as the budget workshops went, we realized that we can't. So I guess something I would have thought, hoping that you were gonna look into, since there was 2 votes done for the same
We
year.
did,
which
and I
one
did
takes
look at
precedent?
the email that she got back, and, you know, once again, they said that we were in compliance with everything, that we have done nothing wrong. And once again, we'll forward that to the committee and have the committee look at that so they can come back and report to the council, and then we will make our adjustments as
It
far
would
as.
be a
what the
council
health insurance-
decision to
Right.
penalize the employees because of an error that I made. Is that where you're going with this? That you want the employees to pay?
I'm not saying a narrative you made, I just wanted, if we're not in, I don't wanna word this, if we didn't do that procedure properly, and we're supposed to have monies taken out of our Act 51 money, so to speak, for
Act-
roads
that
and
has
stuff that
nothing
we
to do
did
with
on.
Act
No,
51 money.
It doesn't.
Nothing whatsoever. We do not get EIP money. We don't qualify for that. So the Act 51 money doesn't have anything to do with anything. And we're fine as far as Act 51 money.
Okay, I know there was questions, and I thought you were gonna look into it, because when I look into it, there is different 51 money that qualifies for that, and you gotta meet all 3 standards in order to get that money. One of those is being in compliance with that thing that we passed.
We are fine.
We're in compliance for exempting ourselves, yes.
For what?
For exempting ourselves, because we voted 5-1 or 5-0 on the second time around.
Right.
But by exempting ourselves, we could be losing 10% or, I'd have to
No,
look at it.
we
a certain
don't
amount of
qualify
funds
for
on it.
that.
We don't qualify for that.
In 2015.
In order to get EVIP money, whatever the initials are, I don't remember right now, we had to receive statutory state revenue money by a certain date, and we no longer receive that and have not received it for a long period of time. And when they came up with the date, we unfortunately didn't meet that requirement because we stopped receiving it in '05 and it had to be '06 or something. Don't quote me on that, please. But it has nothing to do with our Act 51 money otherwise, other than that we are in compliance with everything that we need to be in compliance with at the present time. And according to the state, we're fine.
Mr. Caffrey? Any comments, questions?
No, questions that I had asked Jackie about, and then, covering all of this makes sense to me, because it's what I do. But, I'm sure, now, just a general question, I'm assuming that these come out monthly to us? Would we get like monthly, like financial statements to see?
They
Like
usually come out quarterly, they can come
quarterly?
out monthly if we
Okay.
want them. They usually do budget amendments 2 to 4 times a year.
Okay, no, I was just seeing, I'm the new kid on the block, so I just saw June 30th, for the month ending, so I didn't know when they came out, but quarterly is fine. And then
We usually
can-
start doing budget in March, so you receive them at that time, and then if there's
Yeah.
budget amendments prior to that, then.
Okay. Okay,
And I can run it if anybody wants it on a monthly basis, that's fine.
And you obviously already know that you can come in and ask her questions.
yep, I've
She's been
emailed,
in.
I've been in.
It's just that when we're here at the meeting, it's not a discovery time. It's a
Right.
time to act, so I prefer that if you have questions, you do it before the meeting.
Yep, not a problem, I can do that. I'm a question asker. It doesn't seem that way right now, but I am.
That's
Ask
why-
my boss.
That's why I got moved to the end of the table. I ask my questions during these meetings.
Aw.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
any questions?
No, I mean, the budget to me is something that we do quite on a quarterly basis. I do know that the auditors that come in, I have been in the office at times when they came in and taking a look at all these numbers. And occasionally they have questions, and most times Jackie just kind of goes over it with them again, and then they say, oh yeah, I understand that. But those guys are awfully efficient. And I forgot the big firm from, but it's in Flint, Lusendorf, yeah. And they're very efficient, and they do ask questions, and they come up, they say, oh yeah, I understand this, da-da-da-da-da, so it works pretty well. But, this is not a small company that we're talking about here. It's not like it's the local shoe store. So, there's a lot of numbers in there that goes to different places. And it's always worked out pretty well. That's probably a comment I have, it's nothing new, it's these kind of things we've looked at for a long time.
Thank you. Mr. Maury?
I have no question.
I have no questions either, therefore we're looking for a motion to accept the amendments as presented.
Make a motion, we accept the amendments from 06/29/2015.
Support?
I'll second that.
And you did. Roll call, please.
Horton,
Yes.
McCaffrey,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Vic,
No.
Baldwin.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the Parks and Rec, the appointments.
Mr. President, I can interrupt just for one more time here. Is there a reason why we're doing these during the special council meeting and not doing it regular,
As far as what?
the appointments and basically everything else that's on here?
Because I want to move on it. We have a shed that needs to be built down there. We've got Good Times in Goodrich coming up, and I need electricity down there. That's why I want to move on it quickly.
So I guess my confusion is with Parks and Rec's appointment, which I think is a good thing, something we've been asking for months now on here. Are you guys looking to have the shed moved somewhere,
You're going to build one.
somewhere different than where it was already at?
Yes. I mean, in reasonably the same location.
Okay, because I mean, we already budgeted for that,
We have insurance money. There's no budgeting involved in that.
because that was discussed at the budget meetings, that would be done. So I guess my concerns were is that there's already talk that was gonna get rebuilt. And I think the special council meeting should be for budget amendments and whatnot, not for stuff that I think people in the public who can make it at 7 o'clock should be here to see.
Well, I want to move on it. Everybody knows that if they were interested, they could come in and apply and get on the committee. And I believe that's been how many weeks now? Initially sent that out? It's 6 weeks probably. It's been quite a while, so I'm going to move on it. I want I want to work beats together, and I want the building up. We're gonna miss the good times in Goodrich with electricity. Yeah, it's one of those things, I'll back up with that. You realize that trying to coordinate with consumers to get it energized is always an issue. Trying to get those guys to come in and hook up to our meter base, and that's my point. I want the building up. And more people can come, and by all means, open arms, I'm sure that the people that have applied to be on the Parks and Rec Committee, I'm sure that they would welcome any and everybody else that would be on there. And as far as any major work being done, I don't think that's part of it. Their meetings will be posted. People can come in and they can say whatever they want to about the park.
Right, okay. And I understand your logic where you're going with this, but if for the Parks and Rec Committee, which I'm not trying to stop this process from happening by getting the Parks and Rec Committee going, but if you're gonna leave it in the hands of the Parks and Rec Committee to decide where the building is gonna get built, the size of it, whatnot, blah, blah, blah.
No.
All right, good. So we've already determined the size of it, whatnot, so I don't understand why we can't have the Parks and Rec's appointment done at a regular meeting and the building to go forward. I don't know what input the Parks and Rec Committee is gonna have for a building that's just gonna get replaced with insurance monies all.
Because I want the community involved in it. I want the community to be involved, to go down there helping to build it. And I would like the Rex people to have something to do with the color, kind of the location. They're gonna be limited in where it's gonna go, but if they'd like it a little, slid over here a little bit, that would be fine, and if they want a window over here, that's fine. We have enough insurance money to do very well as long as we're getting free labor. We'll be able to do very well on the building, like most times with insurance cases, it'll be built bigger and better. And like I say, anybody can come in and join, and people on the committee, they can go and recruit more people. We're not locking in on anything on what we're doing down there. That's not the intent. It's just to get something up and started right now. It's been going on for weeks, and I'd like to jumpstart it. That's all.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
As far as you getting a jump start on this building, if in fact there are people that want to get involved with the Parks and Rec, which I hope there are, if we don't get enough people involved, are you just gonna go ahead and?
I will do whatever we have to do, but it looks like I'm saying that we can probably get enough people to come down there and help erect the building. It's not that big of a building.
No.
And I forget, what's the square footage of the village, but we don't need a permit for 100, 200 square feet? So if we stand at 200 square feet,
Well, I think you probably get some people to help you swing the hammer.
I'm hoping so.
I'll help. Peter,
Yeah.
you'll help.
Mr.
Yeah,
Big
guard.
There's 4.
He's not working, you can help.
What else do we need?
You have a thumb guard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bigger hammer.
I believe, Jackie, you have a list of those that have already signed up.
Yeah, and we also need a council person because Tim was the other representative. So as I'm reading this name, you guys can think of who might want to be on that. People who-
Can you swing a hammer?
Can you make hot dogs? Perfect, you're in.
Is my husband gonna find out that I
You could
can
volunteer
or
your
cannot
husband.
swing a
You
hammer?
can see the volunteer your husband too. If we could have a list of those that have
I sent an email out to everybody, so the name should be familiar. Dan Keller, he's lived in the village 10 years. He used to be on our planning commission. Ida Ceroli, she's with the Goodrich Volunteers, as well as Dan Keller. Angie Adamek, she's lived here forever and used to be on council and the village volunteers that have been doing an enormous amount of work out there this year. Sue Nunn, she lives in Mill Point. She's on the village volunteers. Katie Beck. I don't know how long she's lived here. 10 years, close, I think. And Doug McAfee. Those are the people that signed up.
like I said, I'm sure that there will probably be more.
I would think.
And Rick is one of the council people on the committee, and we need another one.
Do we have any volunteers at that end of the table?
I can volunteer.
Well, thank you for volunteering.
Oh, you're welcome.
When you're at the end of the table, you know, that
Yeah,
kind of program.
yeah, I didn't hear Mr. Vick
Well,
shouting out yay.
I tried, but it was a conflict of interest.
Yes.
That works out.
Yes.
Well, that's what you guys told me. I wanted to be
We're
honest.
certainly looking for your help down there erecting the shed, though.
I have sent a notice out to the individuals that applied, telling them that it would be on the meeting tonight, and that would like to schedule the first meeting for Tuesday, the 7th at 5:30. I don't know if you are interested in having a meeting down at the park, for the first one to walk
Well,
around.
if we go forward with this, I say let that committee set up anything that they want, and if they want to contact us, I think that would be a good thing.
Well, if you want them to have input in where, what,
I
I think that it probably should be down at the park. It could be a short first meeting and have ideas.
perfect.
If you're gonna build it, you need to be there, and they will come.
But what I will do is, once we decide all the particulars, and I know Ethan has a little bit of input as far as the size and some doors, I will put together the final material list and a little blueprint, if you will, so everybody knows when we start what it's gonna look like. And I would like to order the material as soon as possible.
Amen.
With that said, I could donate a building that, if somebody wanted to go down there and start painting some of the siding or staining or whatever they're doing, they could do it in there in a controlled environment, if you will, out of the direct sunlight. Or they could just take it down there and put it on the walls. That would just be a suggestion. Regardless, we need to get the material ordered.
So, at this point, we're looking for a motion to set up the committee with these people as the founding people of it, and Shannon.
So we have the Super Six, or we have the Fantastic Seven now, right?
8.
Okay, Mr. Horton too, there you go.
I'm dangerous, by the way, but that's okay, I'm volunteering.
I make a motion, we accept the 8 names that volunteer to be on the park committee.
6 names and 2 council.
6 names and 2 council people, that's be 6/29/2015.
Support.
Support, park-based support.
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were calling for support or if you were
Either way
supporting.
you want to do it, let's just moving forward.
All right. Horton,
Yes.
McCafferty,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes. Thank you to all the volunteers, present and not present, the new volunteers that graciously offered their assistance. Now we have the Freedom of Information Procedures and Guidelines.
I put the rough draft in your packet, rough meaning that what you received tonight is the same material, just had some spelling, taking care of the punctuation. This is something that the state is requiring us to do, and we need it to be adopted. And there are copies available up in the office and the information slabs.
Well, there's an awful lot of information in these packets. I tried to read one through and, interesting reading.
It's very detailed what they want.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make a motion
Hang on, please.
to accept resolution 2015-11.
We can go ahead and second, and then I'll just ask the questions, you want to do it?
We can ask for, I'll support that, and now we're going to discussion.
Thank you. Have we had one of these procedures and guidelines before 2015?
Yes,
So is this is an updated version?
it's a new version that is required by the state.
What, I guess what I'm asking is what requirements are to be made for the guidelines that we must have that's different than what is already in the Freedom of Information Act of 442 of 1976? Because this is about a 10-page documentation, this one's about a 16 to 17.
I would assume that that one is null and void at this point because it's been changed.
Well, and that's where my concerns are at, because if you go through this one, and this is the most recent one that I could find, there's different language in here, and this is kind of more of a, I'm not saying this is what was done, but this is more of a cut and paste of different sections in here to put up our procedures and guidelines. So I guess that's what I'm asking is what is the state recommending, that we just post the Freedom of Information Act? Because
This
the only
is the
thing,
guideline that Pat, as a Freedom of Information coordinator, has to follow.
okay, and that, I seen that in the actual act, we have to determine who actually is the one that's gonna fulfill those requirements,
The law changes July 1st,
okay?
and we have to have the new procedures in place by then. So that's the language that was given to me, so that we would be in compliance with the new law.
And reviewed by
That's all.
Mr. McKinney.
It was reviewed by our attorney, and I could not even begin to tell you. That's why the attorney has read it, so that we are in compliance, and that's all we're doing.
Does that satisfy your questions?
Well, again, if you have questions about things like that, it's better to come into the office and ask them so that we can review what they might be. This is a policy that has to be adapted by July 1st. It goes into effect July 1st, and it's been prepared and reviewed by the village attorney.
Well, okay, and I appreciate you saying that, come in and answer questions beforehand, but when you get the stuff on the Thursday and we have work and whatnot, or the building's not open and I can't grab it until Friday and actually have time to review it and get the information in, I guess I'd have to follow up with another question, how long do we know that we needed to have this up by July 1st, and here we are on the last day before July 1st comes in? I mean, is this something that we knew 2 months ago?
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. I'm not gonna sit and beat that horse, Mr. President. I mean, I got tons of questions on here. I mean, the things that I'm pulling off online that are most current are different than what we're getting ready to pass. I'm not gonna go through every single one of them because you guys are telling me that this is the most recent one on there, so I'm gonna take your word for it.
You did get the blessing of the village attorney. So with that, I have to assume that it is the most compliant and it's up to date.
It's with the Michigan Municipal League, and they send you the paperwork.
And I
You
would
just
say,
kind of plug in your name,
Yeah.
to the template that they give you, and like I said, and then we had the attorney check it out to make sure that it would apply to Goodrich, to to a home rule village. Basically, it's the same across the state, so, like I said.
and
we
that was
just
the
have to
only,
be
I would
compliant.
make sure that when you're looking it up, you're looking at home rule. That's big, because it does change.
It does, but I guess one of my bigger concerns is when it talks about the email portion in here. And there's a section in here that basically says if it goes into spam mail, well, we have 30 days to look at it, according to your guys, it's here in the law, actually states, regardless of how it gets to the office, that's considered written, and you still have the same amount of time whether it comes into your regular email or your spam, or however much it comes in. I don't believe that changed anywhere in the difference, and if you go through it, there's a couple different things like that from this one to this one that are current to today's language. So I'm just cautious with what you guys are attempting to pass isn't actually what the Freedom of Information Act is. I would hate to get in a scenario that we pass something and it's not
And
actually legal.
that's why we always ask for our attorney's blessing too.
Yeah, and I
And
understand.
that's
Yeah,
why-
I
that's
didn't
why
make
we
it up.
pay him.
No, and I'm not saying you did. I'm not whatsoever saying you guys just made up your own thing.
And
It's
we
not what I
are,
did.
we are not attorneys, but we do employ one.
Mhm. The questions are there.
Catherine, questions? Any other discussion?
No, I don't have any at this
The
point.
motion on the table is, could you read that, please?
Read
The motion was to accept as presented,
the FOIA procedures and guidelines for the village of Goodrich.
and it was supported. It's a roll call vote,
Barton and
please.
Baldwin? Okay. Barton,
Yes.
McCafferty,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Vic,
No.
Baldwin.
Yes. Any other business? I don't. Public comments, please.
First off, I'd really like to say thank you to the council for starting the Parks and Rec Committee. I think that's a huge step in the right direction for our village. The second thing I'd like to offer is some information about the PA 152. When I was doing some research after what Mrs. Wortella had talked about last month, one of the things I had seen was that that second vote we had done would have been past the deadline where we would have already told the state we're in compliance. So we weren't in compliance when we told the state that we were. It wasn't until after we had already reported to the state that we were in compliance that we did a second vote. So that's something to seriously check into. And the other thing was about the EVIP, the Economic Vitality Incentive. The reason why we don't meet those requirements is because we didn't do anything to get that money. If we had worked on consolidating services, even just something as simple as the trash, we could have gotten money. We lost the opportunity for that. And then my last thing is about the, the budget amendments. My biggest question is, if you, the council, disagreed with the amendments, if you said, no, I don't like the way we're moving money here, I disagree, what difference does it make? Because the checks were already sent. You can't send a check without the authority first. You, the council, have to approve every single check that is written before our treasurer or anybody else in the office sends that check out in the mail. And what we heard today is McKinney already received his money. According to the state laws for as budget goes, any budget amendment that comes to light immediately needs to be brought to the attention of the board to be amended before a check gets written. Same thing comes when we get more money coming in that we weren't anticipating. The second that money comes in, it should be brought to the council to amend that budget continuously, not piled all up after 6 months worth of time. That's something very, very serious that we need to be looking into, because we cannot send money out until the council has approved it publicly. Thank you.
Patricia Wortella, 8010 Schuman Drive. And one thing, first thing I would like to address, Mr. Baldwin, is that our meetings here that we conduct are here for the public. And I personally know that the meetings they invite the public of what's going on, the questions that we have, invite the public of what we are questioning. And it's strictly up to you as being a representative, as president, to be informative to the entire public. I personally would like to address the bond money that we do have, the amount that we have left. That should go towards the principal, and I'll repeat that too. Taxes will be going up. We all know they will be going up because we haven't curbed our spending. And because we have not consolidated services, because we haven't cut employees, because we keep paying these exorbitant wages and benefits, our taxes will have to go up. We're gonna run out of money. And it's gonna be on your backs. As far as that PA 152 money is concerned, that second vote should have never happened. Right now, this budget should reflect hard capping these employees and asking for you to ask for money to be returned to the residents here in the village. That money should not have been paid out for those benefits when you had a 3-2 vote. What our administrator is saying and what you're agreeing to is it's misinformation. And the last thing I'd like to ask you is about that building that you're talking about, building down in the park area. Is that gonna be strictly done by volunteers?
Yes.
No money whatsoever, only you're using insurance money? How much was that amount?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this, help speed things up. This is out of order, I normally wouldn't do this, but we got about $9,000. That includes some damages that happened in that windstorm to the building here, the DPW building, and the shed down there.
So
That money will be used to repair here and there, and we should be able to do that with flying colors.
Are you gonna assist them on that?
Yes.
But I'm gonna reiterate this, that PA 152, the vote was done February of 2014, and that was for this year. And you did not comply. It was a 3-2 vote.
Thank you. Nobody? All right, public comments, or council comments, excuse me.
The electrical part, am I supposed to try to get the electrician we've been using, or are we just gonna grab one? Cause he's working out of town right now, he's working almost in Toledo, and it might be kinda tough, so.
I think we should talk to Ethan on that, but I would like to use the same electrician that you always use, because he's a good guy and he comes when you need him.
Okay, I will try to get a hold of him and,
What about 3 bids?
Well, and once again, we're out of order here, but okay, wait a second. The only reason I would say that is the fact where he comes down there like during good times in Goodrich. I know.
I don't care.
But
You
in
know
good
what, you
times
gotta
and
do it
Goodrich.
right. You do it right,
Good
Baldwin.
point well
Good God.
taken.
Jeez, old Pete. Give everybody a chance and
Thank
take
you,
3 bids.
thank you.
Backdoor
I
politicking.
would say the only reason that, you know, the guy's been very fair, and I know he's very fair because I know what the going rates are for what an electrician costs, but when there's an issue down there, when there's the pancake breakfast and we have trouble with the electrical, you call him, he comes and he doesn't charge us. He comes down here and he worked on the building in the back, doesn't charge us. You know, I'm not saying we need to bend the rules, and it's a point that we should take bids on it, that would be the right way, but, you know, you gotta take care of those who take care of you too.
Oh, my God.
Video.
Yeah,
Oh, my
well,
God.
you know what I'm saying, I'm not.
No.
No, I don't. I've never.
We disagree, big time.
It is.
Then we'll get 3 bids. We'll do it
That's the
that way.
right way.
It
You
is the right
should
way.
you should put a notice out and ask for it.
And when we need an electrician to come down there during good times in Goodrich, because it's an emergency, we'll get 3 bids. That's how we do it.
Hey, do
That's
it
how we do
right.
business, thank you very much. Anyone else? Shannon?
I would like to say one thing about the electrician, when we put power in the other shed, he didn't charge you anything. The well man never charged you anything, he came in here, furnished material and said you needed water. And he's a friend of mine, he came all the way from Kyle and did it for free.
Pete, I can't help it. You do it right.
And you're right, it's.
Then you holler when I spend money.
And I'm gonna let it go at that. We will go ahead, and it's the correct way of getting 3 bids,
It's like
and
you
that's how we'll
hired your
do it.
3rd DPW worker.
And we will get the 3 bids.
Should have done that.
Anybody else? No? Shannon, you're doing very well, staying quiet.
I missed my first one, I have some absorbing to do.
We have a motion to adjourn, all in favor?
I
Thank you. Everyone has a good weekend and a safe weekend.